mistakes that you don't want to make. I already made them. You don't want to make them. First one is trying to be something that you're not. When you go to these company events, there's usually a charismatic person on stage, and they're very good at motivating, very good at speaking, very good at rah-rah, getting the crowd all excited. But the problem is, usually the way they tell you to build the business is not the way that's comfortable for everybody. I'm an introvert, so talking to everybody that's within 3 feet of me and doing it effectively, it can be done, and I did it, and I built my first business doing that. But if that's the only way you're building, which it was for me at the time, it is very draining, and some days you get up and you don't want to do anything. So just keep that in mind, that you don't have to build the way your upline's telling you to build. You need to build on your strengths. Another mistake I made is waiting for duplication. Duplication's like this, wonderful thing that nobody knows whether it really exists, and we've heard about it, and it's like a unicorn that exists somewhere, and you just wait for it to show up in your organization. Duplication, true duplication, is when a leader duplicates another leader. So that's one thing that was hard for me to understand in the beginning. Duplication isn't the way it's explained to most people. You get 3, they get 3, they get 3. 90 days, you are rich beyond your wildest dreams. That's not the way it works. Duplication is finding leaders that can duplicate. Let me see if I can get this camera to set it up somewhere. All right, so true duplication is when you've got you put in 30 or, whoa, this is going to be an interesting video, but guess what? I'm not cutting it because I don't care. I need to get through it. I need to get to bed. So duplication is when, as a leader, you put in 30, 40, 50 people, and another leader shows up and they put in 30, 40, 50 people. That's duplication. You have one leader duplicating another, and another leader will show up, and that's where your big volume comes from. That's where most of your customers come from. It's the few doing the most. It's the 80-20 rule. 80% of your growth is going to come from 20% of the people. Probably less, actually. Failing to plant enough seed. Okay, this business is about prospecting. When you're shuffling papers, when you're, tinkering around online, scrolling through Facebook, unless you're prospecting somebody, unless you're showing the plan to somebody, unless you're sharing your product with somebody, nothing else is money-making activities, okay? It's very simple, and it's interesting that people try to overcomplicate this, but if you're not doing those money-generating, income-generating activities, then you're not working and you're not planting enough seed. If you want to reap a large harvest, you have to plant a lot of seed, because not all that seed will take root. In this article, I put the audio of the classic Jim Rohn thing where he talks about planting seed, harvesting seed, not asking why, all that kind of stuff. It's just audio, but it's a really good audio. If you've never heard it, you need to go on and listen to it like once a month. It's very motivating, but it also gets your mindset where it needs to be. Managing instead of leading. This was a tough one for me, because you put somebody in, and if you don't have leadership experience and you don't understand the psychology of leading is you're charging ahead and you're charging a path and people are following you. Okay, managing is you put someone in this business and then you try to tell them what to do, what they need to do, but you're not doing it. You're counting on them to do it, because you're thinking, if I put in 3, 4, 5 people and then I manage them right, and then they manage their people, then all this growth is going to happen and I'll be done working. That's just not the way that it typically happens. So make sure that you're leading instead of managing. Like John Maxwell says, if you think you're leading and there's nobody following you, you're just taking a walk. So keep that in mind. Creating false expectations and overhyping the opportunity or the products. This happens all the time in our industry, and it's one of the biggest problems, I think, with our industry. So the FTC has some very serious regulations on what you can and can't do, so make sure you're familiar with those. But even if you're following in their guidelines, if you're overhyping the opportunity, if you're telling people, oh, this is going to be easy, you're going to get 3 people, you're going to get 5 people, you're going to get 2 people, depending on your compensation plan. And then those people are going to get 3, and those people are going to get 3, and boom, 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 boom. And if you're telling people that, number one, it won't be long before it's not congruent with what you believe, because once you put in a few people, you're going to know that's not true. That's not how it works. So when you're telling somebody that, and you're leading them to believe that's the way it's going to work, they're probably not going to get in because they might not be able to put their finger on it, but they can feel that something isn't right about what you're telling them. Secondly, if they do buy it and they do get in, it won't be long before they quit because they came in on false expectations. They came in with a lottery mentality that it was going to be easy and they were going to get rich overnight. And even if they're capable of building a large organization, they're still going to quit. It's like if a personal trainer signed somebody up and said, I can help you lose 100 pounds. You're 200 pounds overweight. I can easily help you lose 100 pounds. And then they just talked about how easy it was going to be. And then they got the person in the gym and they started laying out a meal plan for them, an exercise routine. And the person said, whoa, 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 this isn't what I signed up for. I signed up to lose weight easily. Then they're going to quit. But if the trainer told that same person, I can help you lose 100 pounds, but it's going to take commitment, it's going to take work, and you're going to have to commit to it 110%. And I'll lay it out for you, and if you do the work, you can get there. If that person's at the right time in their life where the pain is strong enough to make them want to do something about it, then that's not going to scare them away. So don't be afraid to tell people how it really is. You don't want to scare them away, but you also don't want to overhype it, or they're going to get in and then they're going to leave. Investing time, energy, resources, and money in the wrong distributors. When I first got in this business, if you had a pulse and you signed up, I'm doing a home party for you. Even if you're 3 hours away. You put in a couple people if you're out of state, and I'm coming to your state to do a meeting for you, to do a party for you. I wasted so much time, energy, gas, resources, and money traveling all around the U.S. doing parties for people who sometimes didn't even show up. And I know part of that's the nature of the business, but part of it is making sure that you set the right expectations and you set the bar high enough and you make people earn your time. If you don't value your time, they're not going to value your time. And if you don't respect your own time, they're not going to respect your time. So they need to know that they need to earn your time. That's one of the things of setting yourself and positioning yourself as a leader is if they haven't done anything and you go, a good example, when I was in this business before, I drove 2 hours for a guy who had signed up, had been on auto ship for like a couple months and said, hey, I want to build this business now. Rather than saying, okay, put in a couple people and I'll come do a home party for you, or a home meeting, because that's what we did back then, I said, great, let's set a time for your home meeting and you get some people there. I wasn't specific how many people I wanted them to invite. I wasn't specific about how many people should be there. I just said get some people there, and I trust that he would do that. I showed up. Nobody was there. And he didn't even apologize. His response was, oops, like it was funny. Oops, you drove 2-3 hours to get here. Oops. And then the next sentence out of his mouth was, can we schedule another one? I'll have people here next time, I promise. And me, being young and naive, I figured he invited a lot of people and something came up. It never dawned on me that he didn't have enough authority and enough respect or influence with people to get them to come. So I scheduled another one. Then I drove another 3 hours. And the second time, nobody showed up. And it took me a long time and a lot of similar situations like that. Some of them where I went out of state to go to people's meetings and do meetings for them. And people not showing up before I realized that my time was valuable and they needed to earn it and show me that they earned it. Otherwise, as your organization grows, you're not going to have the time freedom that you want. So make people earn your time. Another one that I struggled with was giving away personal recruits. So we've always been in binaries, and binaries are great because as you put people under other people, everyone gets credit for the volume on one side, and you get paid as you build out your other leg. So my initial thinking was, hey, this person's not doing anything. If I give them a personal recruit, then they're going to be more apt to build the business. But the fact of the matter is that's not the way it works. The fact of the matter is when you give somebody something for nothing, they start thinking they deserve something for nothing. It's an entitlement mentality. They start to believe that this is a lottery mindset business and that things are just going to be given to them on a silver platter. And it demotivates them because it messes up their mindset and their thinking rather than motivates them. So if you do want to give somebody away, I suggest you make somebody earn it. If somebody's put in 5, 10 people in your organization, or they've climbed a couple ranks in your organization, and you're getting ready to enroll somebody, and it's going to benefit you and not harm you in any way. For example, if you're in a compensation plan where you only get paid, say, 7 levels deep, you don't want to give away somebody, because that might mess up your levels and somebody might show up that's a leader 8 levels down. But if you're in a binary where you get paid infinity on everything, especially if it has dynamic compression, where if somebody doesn't do something, you still get bonuses on the people that do, then I would say it's okay to give somebody away if somebody earned it, and if you make sure they understand why you're giving that person to them. So if I give you a personal recruit, Johnny, I just enrolled somebody for you. It's for the hard work you've done the last 6 months and the 15 people that you've put in. Let's go out and enroll another 15 people, and I'll try to sponsor somebody else for you. Or 5 people or 3 people, whatever, 5 customers, whatever you want the threshold to be, just make sure that they know that they earned it and what they have to do to earn it again. So that's how you can give away personal recruits and motivate people, because it's kind of like giving them a pat on the back and attaboy, but it's after they've done something to deserve that personal recruit. Another mistake I made was focusing on attrition and worrying about quitters quitting. All of us in our life quit things at one time or another. Maybe the timing's not right. Maybe things were too difficult for us. Maybe we didn't want something bad enough. Sometimes think of people that struggle with smoking. A lot of times they'll say, I didn't actually quit till the 15th time that I tried to quit. Well, maybe that's a bad example because the object is to quit. But when you look at it as a perspective of they're trying to do something and they failed, they decided to quit quitting, if that makes sense. But, going to the gym is a good example. Go to the gym in January, the first 3 weeks, at least my gym, it is crowded beyond belief. Go back in March or April, and you have all the machines to yourself, because people get motivated and they sign up for stuff, but most people in this world do not follow through. Adults, Dave Ramsey likes to say, adults make a plan and they stick to it. Now, I don't agree with everything Dave Ramsey has to say, because he's not a fan of network marketing, but to me, it's one of the greatest business models that there is. And honestly, as he's trying to get people out of debt, it seems to me it would be one of the least risky endeavors that he could push people towards. Like, if you're going to start a business, continue to pay off debt, but allocate X amount of dollars for your network marketing business and don't go above it. And as you start making money, funnel that into paying off debt. But anyway, I heard him one time say that adults make a plan and they stick to it. And he was talking about paying off debt. Children make a plan and then they change it. So you got to choose to make a commitment and build the business, and don't worry about the quitters, because they are going to quit. Every industry has quitters. I work in education. Attrition is horrible in education, especially new teachers come in and new teachers go out and they leave education quickly. I used to work in sales. Attrition was horrible in sales. People come in, they go out. I used to work in the restaurant industry when I was younger. Same thing. There's a churning. Even in software as a service, there's something they call churn rate. That's how many people sign up for a software and then a few months later they're gone. So quit worrying about people quitting. Focus on getting new distributors and new customers. Build your business. I hope this was helpful. If you want to see the rest of my tips, head on over to the worst network marketing mistakes I ever made so that you don't have to, and leave some comments, shoot me an email, text me, whatever, reach out to me. I'd love to hear from you. Have a good night.